Have you ever been in a situation where you believe that you're being a bitch? Stay tuned for a reading that can help you figure out why. Hi, everybody. I'm Sue Ellen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we're learning how to read tarot one card at a time. In today's reading, we'll be using a 3-card spread to figure out why a woman believes she is a bitch. I will be using the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot, and there is a link below. This question was posted anonymously online, and the question was, why am I such a bitch? For simplicity's sake, I will assume that the querent is a woman. She gave no other information and also didn't mention using a spread. However, I will be using a 3-card spread to get to the root of her bitchiness. Card number 1 looks at what triggers the querent's harsh behavior. She drew the Devil. Card number 2 looks at the deeper emotional cause of the querent's bitchiness. She drew the 8 of Swords. Card number 3 looks at how the querent can heal this root issue. She drew the 5 of Cups. Let's begin with my first impression, and I have to tell you that these cards make me very sad. I don't think the querent is a bitch. I think that she's grieving and she's feeling trapped. The fact that she's putting such a harsh label on herself tells me that she's in a terrible place emotionally and blaming herself for something that is not entirely her fault. Given that the first card is the Devil, where we see 2 people, I'm guessing that her assessment of herself is based on her response to a romantic relationship. The interesting link between these 3 cards is that people appear to be trapped in each card, but they're not. In the Devil, the chains could easily be removed. In the 8 of Swords, the bindings are also on loosely, and there's an opening in the swords. And in the 5 of Cups, the person is focused on the 3 spilled cups, but there are still 2 upright cups available if she just turned around. So I think the woman's question about being a bitch tells us that she believes herself to be trapped and would think otherwise if she changed her view of the world. Let's look at each card individually and see if I'm correct. Card number 1 looks at what triggers the querent's harsh behavior. She drew the Devil. The first thing I notice about the Devil is the pitch black background. This signifies negativity, sadness, guilt, depression, and emptiness. I believe that this is the querent's mental state. Many people believe that the Devil card is set in a cave, which means that the querent is isolated from the world around her. She's stuck with the Devil and her romantic partner. As I was looking at this card, I got a terrible feeling about the querent. Part of reading tarot is honoring your intuition, and mine tells me that she's being manipulated by an evil partner. We can see the chains, so it looks like she is chained to him. However, as I mentioned earlier, the chains are placed loosely around their necks. She could get away if she wanted to. So the question becomes, why doesn't she want to? The couple in the Devil is the same couple we saw in the Lovers card. So at one point, the querent believed that they were in love. They're still naked, but they are now growing small horns and also have tails. This symbolizes that they are becoming more like the Devil as they remain in his presence. I think that the Devil symbolizes tactics that the man is using to deceive and therefore trap the querent. The first deception is that the querent needs the man. This is a lie. We can see the Devil's right hand being held upward. Unlike the Hierophant, whose fingers are closed in a religious gesture, we can see all of the fingers on the Devil's hand. This position mocks faith in spirit. The querent initially saw the man to be a good partner, but he is not who he appeared to be. On the palm of the Devil's hand, we see a cross. Basically, this is a trick that draws people in, thinking they are worshiping a creature of faith. This confirms my previous comment that the querent felt she was with a godly or good man, but this is not so. Once again, the man is pretending to be something that he's not. The Lovers represent Adam and Eve. The querent's tail represents the forbidden fruit. I think she chose to be with this man against the advice of her friends and family, who could probably see that he was not good for her. The querent had to choose between the man and her loved ones and is now isolated from them. She also feels trapped because she knows that she's in a "I made my bed, now I have to lie in it" type of situation. The male's tail is made of flames which represent desire and sexuality. He has given in to his sexual desires and probably other bad things too. I think this situation involves a lot of perverse sexuality. This card represents temptations, obsessions, compulsions, and addictions. Basically anything that makes you feel trapped. I believe that the boyfriend is using the querent as an outlet for his sexual fantasies and addictions. This is confirmed by the reversed pentagram above the devil's head. Seen facing upward, a pentagram shows the human body with the head, arms, and legs. Among other things, pentagrams offer protection from evil spirits. When the pentagram is facing downward, there is no protection. You can see the position of the reversed pentagram with the legs in the air, and I'll let you make the connection about what's happening to the querent. My analysis is that the querent is fighting back and the man is afraid he's losing control. He's making her believe that the situation she's in is her own fault and that she's been ungrateful for everything he's done for her. She's at the point where she's starting to believe him and thinking that her bitchiness is the problem. Card number 2 looks at the deeper emotional cause of the querent's bitchiness. She drew the 8 of Swords. This is another very bleak card where we see the querent bound and blindfolded, surrounded by a prison of 8 swords. My first thought was that the man literally tied the woman up and is keeping her against her will. I would totally not be surprised. As we established in the last card, I think they are hiding in a place like a cave, so she may also be literally imprisoned, although that doesn't explain how she would have access to Wi-Fi and a cell phone to post a question online. So she may not literally be bound and gagged, but she feels like she is. When the 8 of Swords appears in a reading, it means that you feel trapped, stuck, or powerless, yet you actually have more options than you think. Although it looks like the querent is blindfolded and bound, the restraints are very loose and she could get free if she wanted to. The same thing is true with the swords. Although it looks like they are encircling her, there's actually a large section in front of her that she could walk through and escape. So I think that the querent feels trapped, which can definitely lead to outbursts that she would consider bitchy. Over the last 15 years, my family has rescued several miniature dachshunds that came from horrendous conditions. One in particular, who was named Lancelot, hated my husband. Now, my husband is a gentle soul who was incredibly kind to Lance, but that didn't matter. The rescue organization believed that Lance was abused by a male, and Lance felt threatened by my husband for the entire 10 years that we had him. If my husband got too close, Lance would feel trapped. He would either bark, bite, or completely shut down. I'm guessing that the querent is acting in a similar way, except that humans are capable of more self-reflection than dachshunds, and she believed that her outbursts were her fault. Swords represent thoughts, so I think that the querent's powerlessness is in her mind. She thinks that she has no opportunity to escape. I see each of the 8 swords as a thought that supports her belief that she's a bitch and nobody else would want her. I think these thoughts have been planted by the man and include ugly things such as she is stupid or lazy and she's lucky that he puts up with her. Note that the binding on her forehead covers her third eye. This means that she has trouble accessing her intuition and seeing the truth. She no longer has the ability to question her thoughts, which is keeping her trapped. The positive aspect of this card is that it can be a call to action for the querent to free herself from her negative thoughts. It would be great if she could free herself from the bindings and focus on the sword in front of her, which is the thought that she is a bitch. I'd love it if she could view it as the Ace of Swords and come up with a thought that would be a new beginning, such as, what I'm calling bitchiness is actually a normal reaction to a horrendous situation. Now, I know this would not be easy, but I think that the querent has the potential to free herself if she could repeat the process with her other thoughts. You've made it this far in the video, and I wanted to stop and ask for a favor if you're not already a subscriber, and that is to please hit the subscribe button. It's free for you, and it will also help me to grow this channel. Plus, it means that you won't miss anything. Thanks so much, and if you're already a subscriber, I truly appreciate your ongoing support. Now let's get back to the video. Card number 3 looks at how the querent can heal this root issue. She drew the 5 of Cups. I think the root issue is that the querent is in a toxic relationship that has destroyed her self-esteem. She feels trapped by a cruel partner and is unfairly blaming herself for being a bitch. Cups are about emotions, so that's where the querent needs to go to heal the root issues. She's wearing a black cloak and her figure dominates the card, which I think is appropriate as grief tends to take over your life. Black is associated with mourning, but it's also considered to be associated with mystery and transformation. I think both apply here as the querent needs to grieve for what she's lost, but also take action to transform her situation. The Five of Cups tells us that, to heal the root issue, the querent must feel the pain of despair, disappointment, and loss before she can move on. This is demonstrated by the querent staring at the 3 spilled cups in front of her. From this viewpoint, she not only sees spilled cups, but also the castle across the river, without any way to safely reach it without diving into the flowing water, which represents her emotions and the fact that she thinks they will overpower her. She feels trapped, as we've seen in the previous 2 cards. To heal the root issue, she has to dive into her emotions. Think about what would happen if she gathered her confidence and changed perspective. If she looked behind her, she will see that there is still 2 upright cups remaining, so all is not lost. And if she walks a little bit farther towards the right of the card, the castle, which represents safety and security, can be accessed by crossing a bridge, rather than risking her life by plunging into the flowing river. I'm trying to resist editorializing and saying that this might be too hard for the querent, given that her current circumstances are pretty grim. But the truth is that I don't know that. The cards are telling me that her path forward is to feel her emotions and then change her perspective. That would include feeling compassionate towards herself for surviving a horrendous experience rather than calling herself a bitch. In summary, the querent's path forward is to feel her emotions and try to shift her perspective to the resources that she does have available, as represented by the cups that are still standing. In addition, she needs to accept what has happened to her and view herself as someone who has survived a difficult situation the best way she could, and not someone who should be called a bitch. Let's summarize. The purpose of this reading was to answer a woman's question about why she was such a bitch. Card number 1, the Devil, looked at what triggered the querent's harsh behavior. I believe this is a romantic relationship gone wrong, where her partner has been cruel and deceptive. The querent is at the point where she thinks that she's at fault and blames her bitchiness for her circumstances. Card number 2, the Eight of Swords, looked at the deeper emotional cause of the querent's bitchiness. She is feeling trapped and powerless and needs to realize that what she's calling bitchiness is actually a normal response to a horrible situation. She has the opportunity to free herself if she's able to change her thoughts. Card number 3, the Five of Cups, looked at how the querent can heal her root issue, which is feeling trapped in a toxic relationship that has destroyed her self-esteem. She needs to feel her emotions, especially grief, and try to shift her perspective to the resources that she does have available. In addition, she needs to learn how to see herself as someone who survived a difficult situation and not someone who should be called a bitch. As I mentioned earlier, I had to struggle a bit to stay focused on the cards. I felt such dread for the querent and seriously wondered if she could break out of the situation and move beyond believing she was a bitch. However, the truth is that all 3 cards told me that she had the opportunity to escape if she changed her perspective. I really hope that she did and was able to move on with her life. I hope that this video will help you with your tarot readings. Please leave a comment if you'd like to share what you learned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.